Kanye West, musical genius, cultural icon, tortured artist, or exhibitionistic troll. There have been several notable points of interest in this downward spiral. He has gone from one of the most influential and talented minds in popular culture to his current scandalous state. But today, we are going to focus on one journey in particular: Kanye's marriage to his second wife. Did a wedding actually take place to a woman who may or may not even exist outside of paparazzi footage, silent red carpets, and mesh bodysuits that defy both gravity and common sense? Her name is Bianca Censori, and if you blinked sometime in early 2023, you might have missed her grand debut as Kanye's mystery muse, style experiment, and possibly human sock puppet. One day, she was an Australian architect working for Yeezy. The next, she was trailing behind Kanye like a quiet shadow in sheer spandex, with the internet collectively asking, "Wait, Kim took him back? That's not Kim. Who is that?" But now, she's vanished. No recent sightings, no official breakup, no cryptic Instagram posts, just whispers that she's finally escaped Kanye's bizarre fashion boot camp, an egregious excuse of a love song, and possibly an ironclad NDA, even one that Harvey Specter would be proud of. So today, we're diving into the strange, silent, and possibly staged saga of Bianca Censori, the woman who became Kanye's post-Kardashian enigma. Was it love? Was it performance art? Or was it something far more calculated? Let's get into it. Before she became Kanye's maybe wife, Bianca Censori was, well, normal. Shockingly normal, actually. Bianca was born and raised in Melbourne, Australia. She studied architecture at the University of Melbourne and ran a jewellery brand called Nylons. Eventually, she landed a gig at Yeezy as an architectural designer. In other words, she was a smart, stylish, creative doing her own thing in the background. And she was killing it. Until suddenly she was the thing. And no, we're not entirely sure when she and Kanye started dating. As with all things Kanye, timelines are murky, vibes are chaotic, and official paperwork is apparently optional. But by January 2023, rumours swirled that Kanye had married her in a spiritual ceremony, whatever that means. Spoiler, there's still no legal marriage certificate to be found. However, some outlets have reported that they were issued a private marriage licence. This means it's not part of the public record. But we here at Info Inquisitive are still side-eyeing the whole situation. So in a move that screams, "I'm totally fine and this is definitely real," Kanye introduces Bianca to the world by not introducing her at all. No joint interviews, no wedding photos. Just a dramatic aesthetic shift, and a suspiciously quiet woman glued to his side like a glitch in The Sims. And just like that, Bianca Censori became the internet's favourite fashion mystery. Was she his muse, his marketing mannequin, a vibe, or just trapped? With an eccentric like Kanye, we will never know. So imagine this. You're scrolling, minding your own business, when TMZ casually drops a headline that Kanye West, fresh off a divorce from the most famous woman on the planet, has allegedly gotten married, after he publicly and egregiously stalked his ex-wife relentlessly, and to a woman no one really knows. With no wedding photos, no rings on display, no awkward couple Vogue interview, just vibes, and a suspiciously silent bride. According to reports, Kanye and Bianca had a private ceremony in January 2023, barely 2 months after his divorce from Kim Kardashian was finalised. But here's the catch, there's no record of a legal marriage licence. Some reports say they were married privately in December of 2022 and took precautions to file it confidentially. So this wasn't so much a marriage as it was a vibe shift with accessories. And how did Kanye debut his new, possibly maybe wife? Not with a heartfelt caption or even a paparazzi stroll holding hands. Nope. He trotted her out in a head-to-toe nude mesh outfit, like a walking Instagram filter. Then proceeded to style her like a dystopian Sims character for the next several months, matching outfits. Blank stares. Public appearances that felt more like performance art than a relationship. It was less power couple and more AI-generated concept art for a failed fashion startup. Whatever this union was, it wasn't a traditional one. And if you thought Kim's Skims marketing was curated, Bianca's entire existence under Kanye looked like it came straight from a futuristic hellscape-inspired branding deck. If you thought the wedding situation was strange, just wait until we get to the fashion choices. After their not-quite marriage, Bianca became a recurring fixture in Kanye's public life, but not as a partner in the traditional sense. Think less co-star and more prop cart. She was seen in bodysuits that looked like they were airbrushed on in Photoshop by someone who would love to write her name in the burn book. She wore sheer tights as pants, sometimes no pants. Once, a full-body stocking with a foam column strapped to her shoulders like she was trying to smuggle IKEA furniture across a border. And finally, a throw pillow from the guest bedroom. It served as what could only be sufficiently described as an article of upholstery masquerading as a shirt. And through it all, silence. She didn't speak in public, didn't post online. She was never mic'd up. She just appeared, like a haunted doll Kanye dressed up to make a statement no one asked for. Even fans who had followed Kanye through the MAGA hat years and the presidential run were like, "Sir, what are we doing?" The fashion wasn't just bold, it was bizarre, objectifying, dehumanizing. It was almost like Bianca wasn't supposed to be seen as a person, but as a concept. She was a sentient mannequin programmed to model Kanye's grief, ego, and ongoing feud with reality. And as public appearances piled up, so did the concern. Was she okay? Was this art? Was she under contract? Or were we watching a real-time identity erasure? And then, the Grammys happened. Kanye and Bianca showed up, allegedly uninvited, and just like a thirsty ex, the doors were opened right up for them. As they paused for photos, it became evident that Bianca had shown up wearing nothing but an oversized fur coat, and Kanye's audacity. And, well, she dropped the coat. Now, there is no clear audio from the event, so any reports of what was said are purely speculation. It appears that Kanye told Bianca to drop her coat. However, it is essential to note that this desperately lacks context. Was she under duress? Was she a co-conspirator? Has she been the mastermind all along? It's impossible to know from this brief fiasco. Bianca, blink twice, has become somewhat of a semi-serious running joke in popular culture as of late. But we are consistently greeted with the same blank, detached, thousand-yard stare. Obviously, they were immediately ushered away, but the damage was already done. And now Bianca Censori has disappeared. Not like crime docuseries disappeared, but in a very Hollywood way. No more paparazzi photos, no public appearances, no fresh nightmare fuel outfits. Kanye has since started stepping out alone, or with a new entourage of models who appear to have come from the same human printer. Rumors started circulating in early 2025 that the pair were taking a break, which, in Kardashian-adjacent terms, either means they're divorcing, rebooting the PR strategy, or staging something even weirder. Unnamed sources whispered that Bianca had returned to Australia to reconnect with family and reclaim her identity, which is celebrity gossip code for she might be free, but let's not jinx it. And of course, there is still no official confirmation. No reps, no statements, no grainy car window footage of her crying while eating In-N-Out. Just silence, again. Which means we're left with the same question we started with. Was this ever real? Was it love, art, control, or some twisted blend of all three? And is Bianca gone for good? Or just recharging before Kanye debuts her next evolution? Let's state the obvious. Bianca Censori looks like Kim Kardashian. If you squint hard enough and run her through a California glam Instagram filter, you could even mistake the two. Same long dark hair, same surgically precise body proportions, same dead-eyed glamour that says, "My skincare routine costs more than your rent." But where Kim is polished and media-trained within an inch of her life, Bianca was vacant, stripped down, stylized into something that didn't quite feel human. Which brings us to the theory. And no, this one doesn't involve clones or lizard people. Just your classic vanilla, post-divorce spite and unchecked male ego. Some pop culture analysts, read bored people on Reddit with surprisingly sharp insight, have proposed that Bianca wasn't just Kanye's rebound. She was his canvas, a living, breathing proxy through which he could reimagine, redress, and ultimately punish his ex-wife, without having to speak to her directly. Think about it. Bianca's fashion quickly became a parody of the hyper-curated Kardashian aesthetic. But stripped of personality, stripped of voice, stripped of agency, it was like watching Kim Kardashian rebranded through the lens of a man who once said slavery was a choice and then ran for president as a side hobby. Bianca became an object in a performance. A surreal, slow-motion public spectacle where she was styled, displayed, and occasionally ridiculed. And the most disturbing part? We all watched. The public gawked. The headlines came. The think pieces were written. And in that spectacle, maybe Kanye got exactly what he wanted. A body to dress, a narrative to control, and an audience to project their confusion, concern, and disgust onto. Was this art? Misogyny? A bizarre form of revenge cosplay? Honestly, why not all three? Life is full of nuance. We all collectively watched in horror, while this man publicly stalked, harassed, and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually abused his soon-to-be ex-wife for the entertainment of the masses. He got away with it for a while, under the grace of Kris Kardashian's magical ability to turn any semblance of controversy into a literal goldmine. But, eventually, a gag order was imposed, and Kanye had to find more creative ways to exert his control over Kim. A way in which there would be no repercussions from the Kar-Jenner mega machine. What better way than to find an anatomically correct reproduction of the object of your ire to publicly tar and feather? Naturally, the internet has done what it does best. Filled in the blanks with wild speculation, conflicting theories, and TikToks that start with, "Now, I'm not saying this is true, but..." Some say Bianca signed a strict NDA, which is why we haven't heard a single word from her since her mesh-clad debut. Others believe she was part of a larger performance piece, like Kanye's own living art installation, just minus the gallery. If so, was her silence an indication of consent? There's also the handler theory, in which Bianca was supposedly brought in to stabilize Kanye post-Kim, but somehow ended up being his silent accomplice in fashion crimes instead. And then there are the truly feral takes. She was a clone. A plant from Kris Jenner herself. An AI-generated girlfriend who escaped the simulation. Yes, really. That one had over 200k views and a suspicious number of likes. The thing is, when you strip away the memes and meltdown theories, what you're left with is this weird, uncomfortable truth. We don't know who Bianca really is, because she wasn't allowed to be anything more than an aesthetic, a concept, a silhouette walking one step behind Kanye in heels that looked medically unsafe. And somehow that mystery made her even more fascinating. In the end, the curious case of Bianca Censori leaves us with more questions than answers. Was she a muse, a metaphor? A mannequin Kanye dressed up to exercise his feelings about fame, family, and the woman he lost? Or was she just someone who got pulled into the gravitational field of a man who's built a career on reinvention, chaos, and controversy, only to be shelved the moment the narrative got stale? We may never know the real story behind Bianca and Kanye, because if this whole situation taught us anything, it's that sometimes the most confusing relationships aren't private. They are performance. And whether you were watching out of concern, curiosity, or sheer can't-look-away horror, you were still watching. So what do you think? Was Bianca Kanye's muse, his mirror, or just a mystery we were never meant to solve? Drop your theories in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the scandalous side of pop culture. We'll be here, decoding the chaos one designer bodysuit at a time.